Hello.
And with the band of the Royal Marines and the studio just packed with cars, we're well and truly in the mood for Blue Peter's 21st birthday, even though it is a day early.
No, because the actual date was October the 16th, which is a Tuesday, when we don't have a Blue Peter programme. So we decided to make this our birthday programme instead, and I can promise you a lot of surprises.
One of which is connected with the band of the Royal Marines. More about that later on. All will be revealed. First of all, many, many thanks for all your smashing cards. I've got a great one here from Paddington, who's also, by the way, 21 today. And a smashing message also from Michael Bond, Paddington's creator, who used to be a cameraman on Blue Peter.
You know, Paddington never seems to get any older, does he? There's a gorgeous one here, which has had 21 cut out in white cardboard and stuck on, with all the Blue Peter animals sort of decorated all around. I particularly like the fishes. Incidentally, if it's your birthday today as well, then many, many happy returns to you.
I got a smashing one here as well, where the Blue Peter ship has turned into a spaceship. It looks as though we're off on our summer expedition to Jupiter or Mars or somewhere, because there's a little green man there standing saying, "Welcome, Blue Peter, and round about the world, it's 21 years of great entertainment, 1958, 1979, happy birthday." Also, thanks for all the telegrams and the cards we got here. We got some telegrams from Leela Williams, who was our first ever lady on the programme. And then we had one here from Richard Berylson. Remember, he came to the studio with his Dalek. And there's one here, too, from Rags and Malcolm, which was lovely to hear. Thanks very much for all of those. Also to Stopwatch for sending us this splendid little medallion here.
Many thanks also for going to all the trouble of sending all your cards. We appreciate it very, very much. And now, a trip back to the days when no one celebrated birthdays because it was long before man was around, to over 100 million years ago, when dinosaurs ruled the earth. Fortunately, that was a bit of television trickery, and Goldie wasn't trodden into the ground by that giant Triceratops. But believe it or not, we have got 14 prehistoric creatures here in the studio today. They've all been scaled down, and as far as experts can ascertain, they're all just like the real thing used to be all those millions of years ago. And they range from a giant... now, what's it called? Thank you. It's quite a mouthful. A diplodocus, this is, with its very distinctive long neck and equally distinctive ginormous tail, to a huge... Thank you again, Tina. Pteranodon, with its rather grotesque body, and you can see that massive wingspan that it's got. And all these creatures, they're part of the brand new permanent exhibition which goes on show tomorrow at the Natural History Museum.
Well, dinosaurs are very popular nowadays, and there's hardly a park or a fun fair that hasn't got a model on view. But unfortunately, they're pretty inaccurate and totally misleading. Not so this lot, however. The Natural History Museum have been working on these for about 12 months now, and here are some of the plans that they use to work from. This is a long-scale drawing of the skeleton of a diplodocus. In fact, it's a little bit like the rib plans that boat builders use to work from, so I'm told. This is a cutout of an iguanodon, if that's the right way to pronounce it, and his knees have been jointed together with brass paper fasteners.
Well, the exhibition at the Natural History Museum promises to be one of the greatest successes of all times, and as well as all the models here that we've got in the studio, we have got also full-size fossilised skeletons, and of course it's absolutely free to get in. And of course, if you use your imagination, you can get a marvellous picture of what it was like on Earth all those millions of years ago.
And we're very lucky here in the studio today because we've not only got all these models, but we've also got one of the world's leading dinosaur experts with us, Dr. Alan Charig. Welcome to Blue Peter, Dr.
Hello,
Alan.
Tina.
Tell me, these prehistoric creatures are all scaled down, I know. How big were they in reality?
Well, all these models except two are to 1/5 natural size.
Yeah.
And in reality, they varied very much from the largest of all, which were much bigger than the Diplodocus. The Diplodocus is 26 metres long and it's estimated to have weighed 10 tons. The biggest dinosaurs have all weighed 80, 100, maybe even 200 tons. That's the weight of 40 large elephants.
That's absolutely fantastic.
At the other end of the scale, you had dinosaurs. I've seen one which was no bigger than a thrush. It would lie comfortably in the palm of my hand.
Yeah. Well, I know that you've brought into the studio a real dinosaur fossil, and I know that there's a pretty intriguing story behind it. Could you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, last year we were in Australia looking for dinosaurs and other sorts of fossils, and as you know, dinosaurs all died out 65 million years ago. We were looking in rocks about 100 million years old, but we hadn't found anything very exciting. And we went to the town of Winton in Queensland, which is famous for being the home of waltzing Matilda and the birthplace of Qantas. And we went to the motel, which was called the Matilda Motel, of course, and there, leaning against the wall, was this slab.
Yeah.
And the manager of the motel came out and he said, "Oh, I see you're looking at my fossil palm tree." And we said, "No, that's not a fossil palm tree, that's a dinosaur." And sure it is. It looks a bit like a palm tree with the stem here and the branches.
It does.
But this is, in fact, the backbone.
Yeah.
And these are the ribs. And all these little plates make up a sort of armour. And this is, in fact, one of the armoured dinosaurs, a bit like a simple version of that Scolosaurus over there at the back. And this was very important because it was the first armoured dinosaur ever found in Australia. In fact, the first armoured dinosaur ever found anywhere in the southern hemisphere.
Wow, that's a really exciting discovery, isn't it? Is it going to be on display?
Unfortunately, no, because it doesn't belong to us. It belongs to Mr. Tom Dooley, who very kindly lent it to us.
It's quite a remarkable story, really. I mean, because you could have just mistaken it for a piece of rock, really, just lying there.
We could. We found a lot more of it, 200 miles away from where we picked it up.
Well, thanks very much for bringing it to Blue Peter and let us having a special preview today. And remember, if you're coming down to London, make sure that you make the Natural History Museum top of your list of priorities of things to see. And now we've got a very special announcement because for the first time ever we have a brand new Blue Peter Award. It's not a badge or anything like that, but it's a very heavy piece of solid bronze. It was the idea of Christopher Trace, the programme's very first male presenter, and he gave us quite a surprise when he brought it to the studio this time last year on our 20th birthday.
Chris, I think to mark the occasion of the 20th birthday, I'd like to give you a special Blue Peter present.
My, this is a surprise.
Oh, it's kind of heavy.
Now,
Now, this is really the Blue Peter badge to beat all Blue Peter badges, I think.
It's made in brass or something, isn't it?
It's made in bronze.
Impossible.
And it really was very kind of Chris to give us this award to present on his behalf. And what more appropriate time to present it for the very first time than our 21st birthday.
Yes, indeed, but the awful thing is we've had terrible difficulty deciding which person or which group of people to give it to, because after all, during the past year there have been millions of examples of outstanding endeavour. Well, I'm sure you can think of half a dozen with no difficulty at all.
Yes, it's been a very hard decision to make, but in the end we decided it should go to a group of people who are based somewhere that's probably quite familiar.
This is the Royal Naval Air Station at Culdrose in Cornwall. We fly from here whenever we film at the Bishop Rock Lighthouse, but of course the station's main job is air-sea rescue. On August 14th this year, all was quiet at Culdrose, and because of the summer holidays, only a skeleton crew was on duty. But at 3:45 in the morning, there was a dramatic SOS. Out in the Atlantic, a series of terrible, near-hurricane-force gales had blown up, and 300 vessels taking part in the Fastnet yacht race were caught in the middle of the raging seas. Immediately, the helicopter crews from Culdrose raced to the yachtsman's rescue. As the hours went by, it became apparent an awful disaster was at hand. Dozens of yachts were crippled as they were smashed by a violent cauldron of mountainous waves. Sailors were washed overboard as their yachts broke up, and the helicopter crews on duty were faced with a race against death. As their colleagues on holiday heard the news bulletins, they rushed back to Culdrose to join in with the rescue. During the next 2 days, 8 helicopters flew non-stop, making rescues in the most horrendous conditions. They flew a total of 194 hours, 15 minutes, and saved 75 sailors from the turbulent seas and their helpless yachts. 15 yachtsmen died in the tragedy, but without the gallant men of Culdrose, the toll would have been much higher. And I'm sure everyone agreed with the Prime Minister when she said, The country salutes you all at Culdrose.
And it was for that heroic feat of life-saving that we've decided to give our first Blue Peter Award for outstanding endeavour to the pilots, crews and ground staff at Culdrose. But before we meet them, let's go 800 years back in time to the Battle of Hastings. On Thursday, you saw how I took our film cameras to the actual spot on the French coast where William the Conqueror set sail for England. I also visited the famous Bayeux Tapestry, which tells the whole story of the Norman conquest in 1066. The tapestry shows how the Norman knights, with their armour and horses crammed into boats, were driven by the southwest wind across the Channel. At last, they sighted England, the land William had sworn to conquer. The invasion fleet reached this point on the south coast and ran their ships up the beach. William's ship, the Mora, given to him by his wife, Queen Matilda, beached successfully, and the Duke, eager to lead his men, jumped into the shallow water and rushed up the steep beach, but slipped on the shingle and fell. His men gasped in horror. This must be a bad omen. But William raised himself up and laughed and opened his clenched fists. "Look, I've already grasped the soil of England with both hands," he declared. And his men gave an almighty cheer. The place where William landed is called Norman's Bay to this day. Then he moved on to Hastings, where he made his headquarters, and Battle is still the name of the place where the two great armies clashed. It was probably the most important battle ever fought on British soil. It took place on October the 14th, 1066, and this is the actual battlefield. When King Harold came down from the north, he set up his standard here, taking possession of this ridge, which is a good defensive position. His forces consisted of trained troops, the house warriors, or housecarls, and untrained countrymen. They were armed with spears and clubs and battle axes. They were good troops, but they were already exhausted. Having won a battle against an invader in the north, they'd rushed south in a forced march of only 19 days to meet William's threat. William's banners floated down there, the golden lions of Normandy against their red background. His troops were drawn up on the level ground. They were fresh and ready to fight. His foot soldiers were armed with bows and arrows, which were new weapons to the English. Neither of the English encountered cavalry in battle before. The Norman knights on their battle chargers was a great shock to the English. The Bayeux Tapestry shows the battle in dramatic pictures. William, mounted on his charger, rode out at the head of his knights, and the fighting went on through a confusing and dreadful day. Once the Normans thought William was wounded and had left the field. He raised the visor of his helmet to reveal his face. "Look, I'm unharmed," he shouted. Throughout the long day, Harold and his housecarls valiantly defended the ridge where they had made their stand. Towards evening, William ordered a great volley of arrows to be loosed. They rained down on the English. King Harold was wounded, tradition says by an arrow which pierced his eye, and immediately after, swift Norman sword thrusts killed him. The tapestry says simply, "Harold the king was slain." This is said to be the place where King Harold fell. At nightfall, he lay here surrounded by his housecarls, who died with him. Then, as a chronicler says, the heart went out of the English and they yielded to William. No one is sure what happened to the body of the English king. Some say William had it buried honourably by the seashore and on a stone wrote, "By command of the Duke, you rest here a king, O Harold, that you may be guardian still of the shore and sea." Without Harold, English resistance crumbled, and the man who had landed on this shore, Duke William of Normandy, had become William the Conqueror, King of England. Before the fighting started, William swore an oath. "Upon this place of battle, I will found a suitable free monastery for the salvation of you all, and especially of those who fall." After his victory, he gave orders for the building to start. Stone was brought from Caen, William's town in Normandy, And so Battle Abbey was born. For nearly 500 years it stood as a religious foundation, its magnificent buildings devoted to the worship of God. 10 weeks after the battle, on Christmas Day, 1066, William was crowned in Westminster Abbey. 18 months later, William sent for his wife Matilda, and she too was crowned here. They were the first of a long line of English kings and queens to be crowned in the Abbey. Now the golden lions of Normandy floated over England too, and they still are part of the royal coat of arms. William left another great legacy too. It's here in the Public Record Office in the City of London, the place where all the most important documents and state papers in the country's history are preserved. After William had conquered England, he naturally wanted to know the value of the land he'd won, and he'd promised a share in it to all those who'd fought with him at the Battle of Hastings. He kept that promise, and after he'd parcelled out the land amongst the Normans, he ordered a survey of who held what land, what crops it bore, and how much tax the people could afford to pay. He called this survey the Description of All England, but the English, because it seemed so much like a final summing up, called it the Day of Judgment Book, or the Doomsday Book. It's 900 years old as the Bayeux Tapestry, and almost certainly the most valuable book in England. It was the first ever survey of its kind, and because of all the details in it, we know more about 11th century England than we do about any other country in Europe at that time. William sent questioners out everywhere, village by village, asking how much land each man ploughed, how many oxen he owned, and even how many beehives he had. 4 commissioners were in charge of each shire or county, and they gathered the information together on rolls of parchment, which were then bound together in 2 great volumes. The ordinary people were alarmed at all the questions. Why does the king want to know if I own a pig, they asked. But no one could escape the remorseless inquiry. The survey took a year. One man said at the time, perhaps rather ruefully, there was not so much as an ox, nor a cow, nor a swine that was not set in his writ. Doomsday Book preserves for all time an exact record of the England that William conquered. Some people say that the Battle of Hastings was the most important event in the history of this country. William crossed the Channel and invaded England. Centuries later, Philip of Spain with his armada, and then Napoleon, and then Hitler tried to do just that and failed. After the battle, nothing in England was the same again. All the land changed hands. William's Norman castles and churches sprang up all over the country. William himself became king, and the line he established has lasted for 900 years. The present Queen is 29th in line. On that October day in 1066, in this now peaceful countryside behind me, just one battle changed the course of English history.
Looks so peaceful now. It's hard to imagine a battle ever having been fought there.
It is remarkable, isn't it? But a lot of time has passed. And if you're good at maths, I said 800 before. In fact, it was 900 years, 1066. 900 years ago that it all went on.
And now for our award.
Yes, we're delighted to say that representatives of the whole Naval Air Station at Culdrose have managed to come up here today to Television Centre to receive it.
And of course they didn't all travel by rail or road. The pilots made the 270-mile journey from Cornwall to London by helicopter. And furthermore, they landed their chopper only a few yards away from our studio. The original idea was to get the chopper to land early this morning, but we had to change the plan at the last minute because the weather forecast for today was thick fog and the helicopter wouldn't have been able to land. So these pictures were taken at 5:45 last night when the Wessex 5 appeared over White City on its way into Television Centre. Chris and I rushed to the studios to meet the crew. Simon dashed down the M1 from Dethick but got stuck on the motorway and didn't make it. This was the first time a chopper had landed in the VIP car park at the front of TV Centre, and as you can imagine, it caused quite a stir. had to wait for the engines to be turned off before we could go and greet the pilots.
Welcome! Welcome! Welcome to TV
Nice to be
Centre.
here. Nice to be here.
You made it just before the sun went
That's
down,
right.
too. Brilliant.
It's a bit sunny as we were making the approach at the height, but when we got a bit lower down, it was ideal because the tall buildings cut the sun away.
Yes.
We'll have to park here tonight.
Okay.
We haven't got a meter for you, I'm afraid.
You're terribly
but...
privileged, you know. Only the very best people park in this
I
particular
gather
spot,
that
you
the
know.
Rolls-Royces have had to leave, haven't they?
Yeah. Tell you what, you've got a lot of wind coming off that thing. I've got half the garden in my mouth.
Oh, yes.
Well, it's great to be here, I must say.
It's very good of you to bring number 21 along for us.
Yes.
That's right, ideal, isn't it?
Did you put it
Ideal.
on for us? Or...
Of course we did. It's well planned.
As we said, that all happened yesterday, and the chopper stayed in the car park overnight. The weather forecast had been accurate, because at 8:30 this morning it was very foggy when we arrived to help tow the chopper into our studio.
Eddie, anytime you think it's not going to make it, stop and we'll change the towing arm angle.
Its rotor blades and tail had been folded back, but it was still going to be quite a tight fit getting it out of the car park and through our studio doors. We'd calculated there were going to be just a few centimetres to spare.
Stand by, stop! Midships! All right, come ahead now, push! Midships!
And after a lot of heaving and toing and froing, we did manage to get it through the studio doors of Studio 1 here. But it looked pretty big outside in the car park, but you get a better idea of the size of the Wessex if you see it inside Europe's biggest television studio. It just about fills it, and doesn't it look grand?
And we're very pleased indeed to welcome the men and women of Culdrose too. There are representatives here from all the gallant Fastnet race rescuers, not forgetting the ground staff, of course, who played a terribly important part in the life-saving. People like Stephen McMinn, who cooked for all the survivors, and Joanna Grindle, who was on radar duty.
And they're led by Lieutenant Commander Michael Brock of 771 Squadron. Welcome to Blue Peter, and thank you very much to all of you for coming along and bringing your splendid Wessex with you. We saw in the film awful conditions. Was there any one stage of the rescue operation that was worse than the rest?
I think the worst stage was the final day on the Thursday, when there were still several yachts we had to look for, and we were getting a little tired. Probably the worst stage, really.
Well, congratulations once again on a marvellous effort. Having read about it in the newspapers, it's very nice to have spoken to someone who was actually there.
And it's with our very great admiration that we would like to present you with our Blue Peter Award for outstanding endeavour. We're going to have Culdrose engraved rather, on the side here, and I know that all the Blue Peter viewers would like to join us in congratulating you all for saving 75 lives. That's absolutely magnificent. Lieutenant Commander Brock, perhaps you'd be kind enough to accept the award on behalf of the Naval Air Station.
Thanks very much indeed. On behalf of Captain Toffs and everyone at Culdrose, many thanks, Blue Peter.
We're very happy that you're all here, not only to receive your award, but also to help us celebrate Blue Peter's 21st birthday. And as you know, no birthday is complete without a cake.
And what more suitable cake than a chopper-shaped cake? I hasten to add, not made by me, but by a friend of Delia Smith, Mr. Ralph Hills, who specialises in making party cakes.
And he's really excelled himself, hasn't he? It's absolutely magnificent. You know, every single part of it is edible.
And there's one thing I must say about it, even that goes round.
Brilliant.
Wonderful. Well, I've got a cake over here for the animals as well. That's edible as well. Goldie's been trying to leap on the table, but this is for her and Jack and Jill and the tortoises and all the rest of them. And I think what we must do now is all take a deep breath and blow all 21 candles out.
Come on then.
All right, here we go.
You're not blowing the car, there's one more, right?
There's one left over there.
Will you do the honours? Lovely.
Brilliant. One for the animals.
Right.
And, of course, since Lieutenant Commander Brock had his ceremonial sword with him, we thought we must use his ceremonial sword to cut our ceremonial cake.
Come out, you. Get down.
Yes, we'll chop their nose off, I think. Right. You better hold the thing, because I'm
Right.
a bit unsafe with the
Just
with a
up
knife.
there, I think.
If we kind of
Here we go.
make literally a ceremonial
Oh, that's
cutting.
lovely.
Fine.
Oh, brilliant. You've obviously done this before. May I just confidentially say that I think perhaps you could have sharpened your sword, actually.
I've got a sharper knife for you. How about that one, T?
Oh, thanks. A great carving knife. Well, I'm going to have to sort of very inelegantly get up onto the table here. And I know it's a terrible shame to cut this beautiful helicopter, but Mr. Hill's made it to be eaten, so here goes. And I tell you what, I know it's meant to be visitors first, but I'm blowed if I'm going to give any of this away before I've tasted just a little bit of the topping.
Here, have a plate.
Oh, it's absolutely divine. It really is.
Goldie, come
Brilliant.
round here. Come on. Let's
Going to
have
serve us out with some other
Yes, I
ones.
will. Yeah.
Pass them round.
Can't go near. This is your cake. Now sit. Sit. Can we have a piece of
A knife?
a knife? And
One of
fork?
those?
Yes,
There we
with
are.
the doggy. Thanks. And we've got cake for everybody, including the animals, all the people here in the studio, including the band. But they've got to do a bit of blowing before they get their cake because they've promised to play our special closing music for us. Anyway, we're having a great birthday party. We'll be back on Thursday with the latest news about the latest ancient Egyptian temple that's been rescued from the rising waters of the Nile.
And don't worry about missing Noah and Nellie either, because they'll be back on Thursday with us, so we'll see you then.
And we'll have our Blue Peter letter E in our Blue Peter dog alphabet.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.